actions or omissions that support violations of general international law should be held to be incompatible with the exercise of any international privilege. Honorable magistrates, it is up to the International Court of Justice to render the peace and justice that the Palestinian people deserve, without political double standards. That is the reason why the delegation of the Republic of Cuba respectfully requests the prompt issuance of an advisory opinion against the many years of genocidal impunity, clearly stating the international implications and responsibilities of those who, on one way or the other, contribute to the extermination of the Palestinian people. The international community requires a pronouncement that makes it clear to those responsible that today they may use their force against the innocent civilians, but this force will not be enough to spare them from justice. I thank you very much.
I thank the delegation of Cuba for its presentation. I invite the next participating delegation, Egypt, to address the court and call Ms. Jasmine Musa to the podium.
Mr. President, distinguished members of the Court, it is my great honour and privilege to appear on behalf of Egypt, of the Arab Republic of Egypt, in this advisory opinion of historical importance, in which the General Assembly is once again seeking the Court's guidance in respect of the question of Palestine. This comes against the backdrop of a 75-year history of displacement, dispossession, collective punishment, and daily, indiscriminate and systematic violence and human suffering of untold proportions. Mr. President, as we speak, Israel's brutal onslaught continues to rage in occupied Gaza, where 29,000 innocent civilians have been killed and almost 2.3 million people forcibly transferred and displaced in violation of international law. Israel is deliberately and wantonly creating conditions of life that are intended to make life in Gaza impossible, imposing siege and starvation, including by impeding humanitarian access and the distribution of relief through constant obstruction and bombardment. With the impending attack on Rafah, where 1.4 million people have sought refuge, Israel is continuing its policy of mass forcible expulsion of Palestinian civilians, all while the Security Council repeatedly fails to call for a ceasefire in callous disregard for Palestinian life. Simultaneously, Israel is continuing its illegal practices in the West Bank, scaling up attacks, access restrictions, punitive house demolitions, and supporting settler violence that has displaced entire communities. Increased settlement activity continues to erode the basis for a two-state solution, dimming prospects for a lasting peace in the region. These ongoing, grave violations of international law by Israel, the occupying power, are part of a wider policy that seeks to dispossess the Palestinians of their land and assert Israeli sovereignty over it. This is manifestly illegal and renders the occupation as a whole unlawful. It is shocking that at this critical moment, some states would rather see this court abscond its responsibility as the principal judicial organ of the United Nations by declining to render this advisory opinion. What message does this send about these states' respect for international justice and the rule of law? Mr. President, I will focus